Hi, thank you for tuning in on my review of the Studio 6.0 HD. This is actually part 2. Part 1 was an unboxing. So I had a chance to use the phone for about a week. Actually, a little bit longer than that. Let's say 9 days. And I gotta say, I really got a really good idea of the phone, the features, and kind of the company. I was really intrigued to do this review because I had never really did a phone like this. You know, I've done the Note 3, the Note 4, some different Samsung phones, iPhones, and things like that. So some of those phones, obviously, those are Cadillac phones, Rolls-Royce phones, absolutely incredible features, and they're all really good quality phones. They're also extremely expensive. So being able to do a review for a phone that was, you know, maybe more moderately priced was kind of exciting. So let's get started. Those of you who did not see the unboxing, let me just go over real quickly what comes with the phone. It is obviously the phone. It's nice, it's thin, very sturdy, 6.0 screen, 6-inch screen. You know, it does feel kind of like it's a real like hard plastic or like a glass. I don't think it's a Gorilla Glass, but nice, nice and firm. It does come with a little gel case, which there's a story behind the gel case, which I will get into. Comes with headphones, so that is kind of nice. 8 gigs of storage, 8 megapixel camera on the back, 2 megapixel camera on the front, and 4.4 KitKat Android. So that's all really neat. Also, one other thing. If you are looking for this phone, I found 2 versions. This version is actually the D651, and it has 8 gigs of storage. The D650 has 4 gigs of storage, and they're both priced the same. Obviously, the 650 is just an older version, I think, but they're both priced the same. So obviously, you want to, you know, if this is a phone you're kind of considering, you want to get the D651, even though they look exactly the same and all the specs are the same, except for the amount of storage that comes with it. So let me tell you a little bit about Blu as the company, because I think it's important to kind of understand exactly, if you're interested in a phone, who the company is. I mean, we all know who Apple is. We all know who Samsung is. So who is Blu? Blu is an American company created in 2009. And what they wanted to do was create a moderately priced line of phones that were high quality, that could kind of compete with, you know, the Samsung and Apple and LG and things like that. And you know, they've had mixed reviews. Some of their phones in the past I have kind of read about. I've never actually used them, but I've kind of read some reviews about their phones in the past, and you know what? It kind of seemed like they were a little bit wanting as far as in a lot of areas. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like, you know, if you think way back when Hyundai as a car came out, you know, a lot of people said these Hyundais were junk. Well, all of a sudden now they've kind of evolved into something where quality-wise they really are good. I think that could maybe be where Blu is a little bit. So their whole goal is to create now kind of good quality phones, and I think they are well on their way to doing it. Looking at this particular phone, at the construction of it, it does seem to be a pretty good as far as structurally. It feels solid. The glass feels solid. The phone feels solid. Everything about it feels like it's just not going to just fall apart. So it feels, as far as in your hand, it feels just as good as like an LG or a Samsung or something like that. The screen and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't feel like it's cheap plastic. You know, if anyone has ever like seen like a cheap Chinese knockoff of an iPad or something, you'll push this the screen and you'll feel like this cheap plastic that'll like move. Yeah, this doesn't feel that way. So I think Blu's kind of on their way to doing something good. So enough about Blu. Let's get to the phone. I'm going to go into the negatives first, which is something I usually don't do, because I like to start off with the positives. But there are kind of so few negatives on the phone that I kind of want to cover those first, and then we can get into the positives. One negative on the phone is that the screen is sensitive. That was kind of the one thing I was going to be concerned about, because when I have seen inexpensive phones, the screen, you'd have to touch something over and over and over, or push it really hard. The screen on the 6.0 is actually very sensitive. Just a light touch, and there you go. It's just as sensitive as anything else I've used. The Note 3, just as sensitive as that. But where I think it lacks is it doesn't seem to be as accurate as some of those other phones. So a lot of times typing or whatever the case may be, I'll notice where I thought I hit the button. I'm pretty much sure I hit one button, but maybe it went a little bit over. So as far as accuracy, I think they need to do something a little bit on that. I'm not sure if that's a hardware issue, or maybe that's something that could be taken care of in a software update, but it just doesn't seem to be as accurate. It is something that at the very beginning, again, I've been using the phone for about 8 days. At the very beginning, I think it was a little bit bothersome because I was using my Note 3. And then all of a sudden I kind of got used to it. So now it's almost, I've kind of adjusted a little bit to the accuracy of the phone. Negative number 2, the sound. I actually did some research on the internet after a couple days because I wanted to see if it was just me. But the volume of the actual phone when you're listening to music on the headsets, or even when you're, kind of talking a little bit, seems to be a little bit low. And not only does it seem low to me, but if you look on the internet, there's a lot of people out there that seems to run their phones at full volume. When the phone is at 3/4 volume or full volume, it is sufficiently loud. Don't get me wrong, like, okay, you're listening to headphones, it's at full and you can't hear it. That's not the case. But it's at full and it's comfortable to hear. And to me, it really shouldn't be that way. For some reason, that's not comfortable to me. I want to be able to have a comfortable level, and then if I'm in a really loud environment, I still want to have a little bit of leeway to be able to go a little bit louder. So that is something that not only I feel that way, but looking on the internet, there are kind of a number of people that feel that the volume through headphones and even through the speaker here is not really loud enough. And I think that is something that can be taken care of with a software update. Hopefully you can, because enough people have kind of said something that I think Blu could easily just create a software update and take care of that problem. There was another issue that I thought was a negative, and it turned out to actually not be a negative of the phone. It turned out to actually be my fault. I thought the phone was rebooting, and it was happening about twice a day. I'd be like, oh my God, it's just rebooting. This is kind of ridiculous. Well, lo and behold, I found out that I was actually rebooting the phone. Every phone comes with a gel case, and this comes included. And if you notice, well, you can't notice, but where the buttons go, it's not all the way cut out. It's just an indentation. And the buttons are very sensitive. So when the phone is in the case and you hold your phone like here, like this, it just takes a very small amount of pressure, and all of a sudden, boom, you press the power button just by a little bit of pressure, and boom, you press it again and it reboots your phone. It took me about, 6 days to figure out that it wasn't the phone that was doing it, it was actually me. And so that turned out to be kind of a negative on the gel case, that they really should have cut these buttons all the way out. And that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably just take a knife and cut these things all the way out to kind of relieve a little bit of pressure off of the buttons. So since I've actually taken the phone out of the case, I haven't had any rebooting problems at all, and I've just kind of positioned my hand a little bit differently over the actual button. So I don't believe that there is a rebooting problem with this particular phone, even though I have heard a couple other people say that they've had the same problem. I think it's the same problem I've had, because don't forget, everyone has this same exact gel case because it comes with the phone for free. So now let's get into the positives. Here's the deal. I've been one of those people that every time a new phone has came out, whether it be, you know, the iPhones, the Samsungs, the LGs, I've been attracted to those phones, and I've spent a ton of money on those phones, almost like a phone addict. Spent, you know, $600 for a phone, buying it off contract because I wanted to upgrade. And so all of a sudden, you see a phone that comes out that is priced at $149. That is, it's not as good as a Note 3. It isn't. But it's not supposed to be. Could they charge more for this phone and probably get it? I think that they could. Anyone who has seen any of my videos, I'm very hard on companies that that try to rip people off, that tell you, hey, we'll give you 2 gigs high-speed internet, and all of a sudden at 500 megs they throttle you. I'm very hard on those companies because I think they're trying to give you something. They're trying to tell you that they're giving you something, and they're not really giving you that. That's not the case with this phone. This phone at Walmart is $149.95. $149.95. I got it for a little bit cheaper on eBay. Compare that to like a Note 3. That's around, even though it's a year older model, that's a Note 3 is around $400, $450 right now. So someone who's out there who can't afford to spend $400, $500 for a phone, and who doesn't want to go on like a 2-year contract or pay payments for a phone or something like that, for someone to be able to go out there and spend $149 and be able to get, like, you know, prepaid SIMs or whatever the case may be, this is like incredible, because it is like a really, it's a solid phone. Android operating system 4.0, and it really does seem to be doing well. One of the things that this phone has enabled me to do is I was going to be doing another video on simple mobile. And so I was actually able, I've never had a phone before that had a dual SIM. So, because, you know, all the phones in the past that had dual SIMs were like these cheap knockoff phones from China, and I never did a review on those, and I really never wanted to. But this particular phone actually had a dual SIM. As a matter of fact, let me show you. If you kind of look here, I don't know if you can kind of see. It's not very clear. But in here, there's actually 2 meters. One is green and one is orange. And those are the 2 different meters for the 2 different SIMs I have in there. So I have a T-Mobile SIM in there, and I have a simple mobile SIM in there. And it allows me to pick which one I want to call from. It tells me which one a call is coming in from. And it is absolutely kind of incredible. I didn't realize, like, just how cool it could really be. Like, if a person has like a business phone and a personal phone, to be able to have both of those in the same phone and not carry around 2 phones, it really is kind of incredible. I find it hard to believe that like Samsung and LG and some other people haven't really offered phones with these dual SIMs, because I'm really impressed with it. I really am. From now on, as a matter of fact, anytime I do reviews of phone companies, like, again, I'm doing a simple mobile review, I'm going to use one with a dual SIM, either this phone or something like that. So the dual SIM feature, really, really, really nice. Screen. The resolution on the screen is, I believe it's 1280 by 960. 1280 by 960, I believe. Let me just look real quick. And so, you know, that puts it on par with, nope, 1280 by 720. So that puts it on par with your regular HD phones. You know, your newer phones, again, your newer iPhones, your Note 4s, those are up in like the 1900s. Again, this phone wasn't meant to kind of compete with those. This is a step down. This is a mid-level phone. But as far as watching a movie, watching Netflix, being able to, you know, read something, screen-wise, it is absolutely incredible, and it's very, very, very vibrant. When I first got the phone, I was actually kind of surprised. There was a couple times where I looked at it and I thought that the brightness was on high. I literally thought the brightness was on high. And I would go over to the brightness and I would click the auto, and it would go off of auto and it'd go in the middle. And I was like, wow, this is not even turned all the way up. So the screen is like incredibly bright. It really, really, really is. It's not as glossy as like the AMOLED screen on a Samsung, but it does seem to be brighter. Processor wise, the screen wise, it does seem to be pretty fast. Even though it has a slower, oh here, let me see here, I'm sorry. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of lag time. Even though this does have a slower processor than, let's say, a Note 3. A Note 3 has a 1.5 gigahertz compared to 1.3 for this particular phone. The background processes for a Note 3 it has a lot more background processes going on. I mean, you know, the ability to, you know, go like this and answer the phone, you know, all of these hand gestures and all those types of things. All those require background processes. So I think the fact that this phone does not have those background processes allows it to have a slower processor, but still have a fairly good performance. So processor speed tends to be pretty good. This phone is not LTE. Blu does make an LTE version of this phone. It's called the 6.0 LTE, which I will be doing a review on in a couple of weeks. And so, again, I probably should have put that in one of the negatives. But again, priced at $149, it was, you know, what I believe that this phone is marketed towards is the person that wants to buy a phone for their teenage son or daughter, or the person that is maybe a business guy, doesn't want to spend $300, $400, $500 for a phone, wants a good quality phone, wants a good size screen, and is satisfied with, you know, 8 megabits per second download, because that's what you're getting when you just go 4G. You know, in a pretty good area, I noticed I was getting about, you know, about 8 megabits per second, which is decent. I was able to watch Netflix. I was able to, you know, watch YouTube. Phone updated, no problem. Everything else like that. So really didn't see a problem with that at all. Really at all. So that is pretty much it. Overall, I'm going to give this phone an A. I'm going to give it an A, not because it is the absolute best phone out there. The best phones out there, they're Apples, or they're Samsungs, or they're LGs, depending on your preference. But as far as a value, what this phone tells me, the fact that this phone can be priced at $149, and that the LTE version of this phone, I believe, is priced at like $217, and it's $217 with the resolution that's like a 1920 resolution, which is equal to like a Note 4. What that's telling me is that, you know, maybe some of these companies like Samsung and Apple, maybe their phones are a little bit overpriced, and maybe they do need some competition from some companies like Blu to say, hey, you know, you don't have to pay $600 or $700 for a phone. If you want something nice, you know, you can be around $200. Maybe you can be around $300 for a really, really high performance phone. So I'm going to give it an A because, you know what they tried to do, what they attempted to do, they did. They wanted to get a really, really good, solid phone out to the consumer that's an unbelievable value, and they did. Everything about the phone, when you compare it to the price, I'm happy with, and I think you will be too. So again, if you want to find it on eBay, let me just remind you, if you are interested in this phone, it is the Blu Studio 6.0. Make sure you get the 651 if it's this particular model, not the 650. The 650 is only 4 gigs. 651 is 8 gigs. And it is also available at Walmart. I didn't see it in the stores at Walmart, but it is featured prominently on their website. I don't know if they're ever going to carry it in their stores, and I never did ask. But it is carried prominently on their website. So, that is it. Down below, there's a like. Please give me a like, and please subscribe. Oh, and if you're interested in Simple Mobile, the Simple Mobile SIM is in here, and I'm going to be doing a review of Simple Mobile. So, see? Simple Mobile. 2 SIMs. So I'm going to be doing a review of them also. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.